Let me ask you a question. If you were about to start the biggest journey of your life, and you had two choices, a bag of gold that might finish tomorrow, or three simple pieces of advice that could change your life forever, which one would you choose? Once upon a time, in a small, quiet village, there was a young man full of dreams. He wanted to travel, to see the world, and to build a better future. One morning, he packed his small bag with just a little bread and water. His heart was full of hope, but also fear because the world outside was unknown. He walked to the edge of the village. There, under a big old tree, sat a wise old man who had lived many years and seen many things. The young man stopped and said, "Old man, today I'm leaving my home. Give me something for my journey. Maybe food, maybe money." The old man smiled slowly and said, "My son, food will be finished, money will disappear, but I will give you something more powerful, 3 pieces of advice. If you carry them in your heart, they will guide you better than gold or bread." The young man was surprised, but curious. He agreed to listen. The old man looked deep into the young man's eyes and said, "Listen carefully, my son. These are my 3 pieces of advice. First, when you're angry, do not make a decision. Anger is like fire. It burns your wisdom. Second, when you feel hopeless, do not give up too fast. The darkest night always comes before the sunrise. Third, when you succeed, do not let pride control you. Pride can destroy what patience has built. Remember these 3 things, and they will be your true treasure." The young man left the village and walked for many days. One afternoon, he met a merchant on the road. The merchant offered to sell him some goods, but soon the young man realized the merchant was cheating him, asking for too much money, giving too little value. The young man's face turned red. His hands began to shake. Anger filled his heart. He thought, "I should fight him. I should take back what is mine." But then, in the middle of his anger, he suddenly remembered the old man's first advice. When you are angry, do not make a decision. He took a deep breath, stepped back, and walked away. Later, he heard that the merchant was dangerous, and many men who fought him had lost their lives. By controlling his anger, the young man saved his future. One cold night, after weeks of traveling, the young man lost his way in a dark forest. The wind was strong, the ground was wet, and his stomach was empty. He sat under a tree and thought, "This is the end. I cannot continue. I will die here." Tears filled his eyes. He was ready to give up, but then he remembered the old man's second advice. When you feel hopeless, do not give up too fast. So he stayed calm, closed his eyes, and waited. Hours later, the sun began to rise. With the first light of morning, he saw smoke from a small village nearby. The villagers welcomed him, gave him food and water, and his hope returned. After many years, the young man finally found success. He worked hard, learned new skills, and people began to respect him. He earned money, built a house, and many called him wise and strong. One day, in the middle of a celebration, pride filled his heart. He thought, "I did all this by myself. I am greater than others." He was about to speak these words out loud. But then he remembered the old man's third advice. When you succeed, do not let pride control you. He stayed quiet, smiled with humility, and thanked the people around him. Because of his humility, his friends trusted him more, his respect grew, and his success lasted even longer. After his long journey, the young man returned to the village. He went straight to the old tree where the wise man was sitting. He said, "Father, Your 3 pieces of advice guided me through every challenge. When I was angry, I learned patience. When I felt hopeless, I learned to wait and hope. When I succeeded, I learned humility. These lessons were more valuable than all the wealth in the world. The old man smiled and said, "My son, you have understood the truth. Life will give you anger, fear, and pride. But if you remember these 3 lessons, your journey will always shine. Control your anger, never give up in despair, and remain humble in success. These are the true treasures of life." The young man nodded, feeling the weight and the power of these words. He realized that the wisdom he carried was far greater than any gold or treasure, and that his journey was meaningful not because of wealth, but because of the lessons he had learned and could share. If this story inspired you, like it, share it with someone who needs hope, and remember to live each day with patience, courage, and humility. The journey of the young man teaches us one powerful truth. Life will always give you challenges, anger, fear, and pride, but the way you respond decides your future. Patience turns anger into wisdom. Hope turns despair into opportunity. Humility turns success into lasting respect. The real treasure is not wealth, but the lessons you carry in your heart and share with others.